Hey everyone, I am back from Mystic South. I've been talking about it for quite a while about going, and it was this past week. It was this weekend in Atlanta, Georgia. I got in a couple hours ago and got unloaded and rested for a little bit. And now I've got to go out and feed and water and all that stuff. My friend Kathy was kind enough to take care of the animals for me while I was gone. But I thought while I was there, I would record a few clips and share with you guys some of my amazing friends that I've known for a long time. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to get a hold of everybody to get them sat down and recorded because the weekend was just wall-to-wall busy. It's a wonderful conference. If you follow any kind of earth-based path, pagan, heathen, Wiccan, witchcraft, hoodoo, you know, that it's a great conference to go to. It is full of amazing people, full of amazing teachers, and it's a family reunion for me in a sense. You know, my blood family doesn't have a whole lot to do with me. As you can probably imagine, my worldview and their worldview are in opposition, and so that means that we don't really have a lot to talk about. And after the 2016 election, they basically said, we don't like you and we don't like what you have to say, and you need to be quiet or we're not going to talk to you anymore. And I said, no, I'm not going to be quiet. I'm not going to be quiet. So at any rate, I had a wonderful weekend. I wanted to talk to you just briefly about how my views and why my belief system is important to me. I am not, nor are most of us who follow these traditions, anti-Christian. We just find that it doesn't resonate with us. The system of Christianity the particular system of Christianity that I was raised in is very far right, very hate-filled, very misogynistic and homophobic, and of course transphobic, I'm sure now, and racist. It did not match my internal beliefs, and from the time I was very small, there was a dissonance within me. I found a different path, and it works well for me. The way I look at people's beliefs is we all have a piece of a puzzle, and none of us have the top of the box. So we don't have the whole picture, nor do we know what the whole picture is. But what I know for sure is none of us have the whole picture on our puzzle piece. And someday we will all hopefully figure out a way to put those puzzle pieces together to make one big, beautiful, united, loving picture where we all have a part of the picture. So that's my philosophy. So I wanted to just clarify that a little bit. What I thought I would do, like I said, is I've interviewed some of my friends about different areas that I think are important within this conference. You're going to hear about the conference itself. You're going to hear about some classes. You're going to hear about other things within activism within the community and kind of what we're doing. And yeah, now I will say, because I did interview my friends and they have very strong opinions, sometimes they get very passionate and swear words come out. So I normally try to keep things down on the podcast, but there are a few places where there are swear words in here, and I have no problem with that. I don't think most of y'all will, because it's not the whole interview, but people get very passionate about what they believe in, and that passion sometimes comes out as the F-bomb. So, and even I do that. I manage to rein it in most of the time. Willie is really wanting in here. Anyway, I wanted to share with you guys, and so I hope that you will enjoy all of this. I am going to do a haul video at the end. I have been saving up little extra bits of money that I have made for the last year so that I was able to buy some books because I haven't done any witchy shopping in quite a while in that aspect. And several of my friends have published books, and several of my friends create beautiful things. And so I kind of told myself, this is my budget. Yes, I know I have other things that I'm responsible for, but I worked really hard to save this money. And so I allowed myself the freedom to splurge on this weekend. Now it's back to the thrifty living, but several of my friends had beautiful things there, and I wanted to support their craft as well as my craft. So I'm going to do a little haul clip at the end. So if you don't want to see that, that's fine. But anyway, I hope you enjoy getting to know some of my friends and hearing about the Mystic South Conference. Good morning. It is 4:25 a.m. Oh, the light went out. It is 4:25 a.m. and I am on the road to Atlanta, headed to Mystic South. Looking forward to seeing all my friends. It takes about 8.5, 9 hours with stops to get there. So, and you lose an hour going that direction from here. So, should get in there around the middle of the afternoon. So, I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. Well, I have made it to Atlanta. We are at the Ravinia. I don't know, something. Anyway, it's a really nice conference hotel in actually Dunwoody, which is northern Atlanta. And I have checked in, so I have got my presenter tag, and I am getting ready to unwrap my stuff or unload my stuff here. Okay, so I just got back from dinner with my friend Raina and her husband, and Patty and her feller. They are some friends of mine. Raina is the one who has the Desperate House Witches podcast. I'm getting ready. I'm waiting on Marla to come up to the room, and we're going to go down to the Covenant of the Goddess opening reception. And Patty and Raina kind of talked me into maybe pitching my weather, magic, and lore book at the pitch session. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, so I'm headed down to the COG opening meetup. And yeah, and then tomorrow morning we start bright and early at 8 o'clock. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm getting ready to go down and do my first presentation. I'm going to eat a little bit of breakfast. I've gotten ready here. Got my Mrs. Frizzle old goth older sister look going on. So yeah, my first presentation day is my weather lore one, and then I'm going to meet one of my former students for lunch, and there's some great other presentations today. So yeah, we'll check back in a little bit. Hi everybody, I'm here with my friend Opal Luna, and we're sitting outside taking a little break from the vendor hall at Mystic South, and they're here to teach classes, and they have a great booth full of stuff, so I'm going to let them tell you a little bit about what they do. Okay.
So, like was said, my name is Opal Luna, and I'm the author of a book called Fiber Magic, A Witch's Guide to Spellcasting Using Crochet, Knotwork, and Weaving. And it's a beginner's book. If you don't know how to crochet, that's fine. If you're just new to magic, that's fine. Of course, my throat wants to kill me while I'm on camera. But so the idea of the book is to use something like crocheting or knitting or weaving as a magical practice. And it starts out with the basics of magic and then the basics of crochet. And wherever you are, you're going to bring your craft with a big C up to where your craft with a little c is, and then go from there.
That's cool. I like that.
So it's kind of like how a kitchen witch uses herbs and oils and stirs the pot a certain way. When you're crocheting, for instance, you're using yarns, textures, fibers, could be cotton, could be bamboo, could be wool. All these things have magical correspondences, the color, and then you can layer it with herbs and oils and everything until you're making your own kind of soup.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your vending stuff, because you've got some adorable stuff back there.
Well, I enjoy staying in the pagan niche, you know, and I have little baby Baphomets and Cthulhu's. They always have a top hat and a cane because it's Lord Cthulhu.
Well, yeah, you gotta be fancy.
And I just added Medusa, and she's already sold.
I heard, yeah. She was out the door quick. I heard.
So now I see I'm going to add to that. But like remember Muppet Babies?
Oh, yes.
Now I want to do baby
Medusa babies.
Right, baby creatures.
Yeah, that's awesome. So tell us about your classes that you're doing.
So today in the Llewellyn Suite, I'm going to be doing a new workshop crafting with many layers of intention. And it's going to be about making a recipe or a spell using the different layers of intention when you're crafting, what the yarn is made of, what color, blah, 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 blah. Tomorrow we're going to do fiber magic crochet and make magical drawstring bags, because you can use numerology because you're always counting
Right.
when you're crocheting or you're knitting. So we incorporate that. And then Sunday morning at 8 o'clock, we're going to tie magical knots.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. That's awesome. I can't wait to see them. This is my longtime friend, Marla. Yay! We've known each other for 24 years.
Yeah, long time.
But she is on the board of the Mystic South Conference, so she's going to tell us a little bit about the origin story of Mystic South and what we're trying to do here, or not. So.
A number of years ago, and because of COVID, not me having COVID, but because of the whole pandemic, I can't even remember what year we started talking.
2017.
2017.
Yeah.
So my good friend Heather Green, who was at the time editor of The Wild Hunt, she and I have known each other also a long time, and was saying, I think we need to have something in the South that's kind of like Pecan, which was over in the Bay Area. It has since folded. And so she and I were talking at one of the Pagan Pride days, and I said, I agree, let's do it. So a couple of weeks after that, we ran into Star Bistabane, who is from Asheville. And Star says, yes, I think we need to do this. So we were all talking at what at the time was called Caldera Fest. And we talked some more at another pagan event, and then we started talking about different people, and Heather said sorry,
Marla's in charge of many things.
So Heather said, I know this guy Ryan that wants to get something going about academic pagan papers.
This is that some guy Ryan. We'll talk to him later.
So we brought Ryan on board, and my wife is a vendor, Gypsy, and so she kind of got strong-armed into being in charge of
voluntold.
Voluntold. That's how you do with your significant others. You say, "This is how life is going, honey."
Yeah.
For me, what I am good at is organizing and moving pieces around. So I took over the workshop scheduling. And that is our origin story.
Right. And I remember when we first started out, you said there was kind of the mission of a lot of things have happened in the South that are not necessarily great. So part of the reason of bringing Mystic South around was to kind of try to
Let me show them off. Look, I got these new earrings.
undo the...
I got them off Etsy. But
So the idea I remember us talking about the first year we had it about the idea that maybe healing the South in a lot of ways.
Healing the South. Mm-hmm.
So,
the Phoenix, we originally thought about moving it around in different cities, but we decided Atlanta was the best one to stay in. And Atlanta's mascot is the Phoenix, the rising of the South again.
Yeah.
Also, there's a lot of transportation issues and things here that make Atlanta a good place to have it.
Yeah.
So,
and this hotel's great, and
this
they treat
hotel
us very well.
Yes, yes. So about halfway through that first year, we also brought on Stacy, who does a lot of our social media. Mm-hmm. And then the following year, I think, is when we brought Nathan on.
Okay. So yeah, and we're going to talk to Ryan about some stuff in heathenry, and Stacy's going to talk a little bit about the Wild Hunt.
Yeah.
So you'll get to see some.
So yes, I am glad that I'm glad we do this. And
yes.
This is year number 4.
Yep.
Next year is 5. We're planning on having it here at the same time and same hotel. So if you have any questions, ask Deborah.
Yeah. And it's a great conference.
Okay,
so.
we love it.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Okay, we're out here with my friend Star, and she is sort of the director of the Mystic South Conference. But what we're going to talk to her today about is she does a podcast with Raina called The 415, and it's a great place to get information. So she's going to tell us a little bit about that. Okay, so introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself that you want to share, and then tell us how you and Raina got started with the 415.
Okay, so my name is Star Bustamante. I am the director for Mystic South, and I'm also the news editor for The Wild Hunt. Raina and I have been friends for quite a while. She had me on Desperate House Witches prior to me being the news editor for The Wild Hunt. And so because like my life is consumed with the news, Raina thought it would be fun to do you know, a blog talk radio show that just kind of talked about the news and things that not only, whereas The Wild Hunt focuses primarily on news that is of importance to pagans, what Raina and I do with the 415 is more general. We often talk about surprise, surprise, politics. And so that's kind of how that evolved.
Okay. So, kind of tell us how you got your interest in knowing about news and getting in and understanding, because you have a really good understanding of politics. Because I remember listening to your discussion about Roe v. Wade and kind of all the steps that were going to fall in place if it got overturned. And clearly you were someone who's studied on this and read about it and knows. So can you kind of tell us how you got interested in that kind of stuff?
Well, as a child, I was a very odd child. I know you will find that hard to believe. But I always was kind of fascinated with the news. I was born in Chicago, but then my mother moved back to southern Indiana, which is like shortly after I was born. So I grew up in southern Indiana, but we continued to get the Chicago Tribune on the Sunday paper delivered, which of course it came on Monday because that was back in the dark ages prior to the internet.
Yeah.
And I really liked reading the newspaper, and I was like, as a kid, I mean, I was reading by, you know, I mean, very well by the time I was, you know, 6 or 7 years old, and have always been a big reader, but I was fascinated by the news. So I would get the newspaper, but then my grandmother would often cut recipes out of it, so you'd be reading the story and then you'd have to jump to the, you know, and half of it would be gone. So at like, by the time I was like maybe 8, I decided that I would take my allowance and buy my own subscription to the Trib so that I could actually finish reading the stories without my grandmother's interference.
That's awesome.
So I've always had an interest in news and politics. I mean, I was fairly young, like when Nixon was, you know, would have been impeached. You know, like I remember. Here's a story for you. I remember going to the grocery store, and it was a new grocery store. It was like one of the first supermarkets. And they had, of course, a marquee out front, and it said, "Impeach Nixon." And I just like clearly, I mean, so there was a lot of energy behind that. But so I've always been kind of fascinated with politics, and you know, and I think that one of our obligations as U.S. citizens is democracy only works when we participate.
Right.
So you have to participate, and that means that you have to fucking vote. And in order to vote and make your vote really count, I think you have to be well informed.
Yes.
Which means that you have to do a little bit of homework, and you know. As luck would have it, damn near everybody has at their fingertips access. You know, they don't have to go and subscribe to a newspaper that is, you know, coming from 2 states away.
Right.
Just about anything that you could possibly want is available online. And there are also really great resources for, you know, for researching candidates and knowing what they stand for. But the other thing, one of the things that I'm seeing that I find really disturbing is that a lot of people really do not understand how our government is structured, nor how it works. I mean, some people have difficulty even naming the 3 branches of government.
Yeah.
I think we are failing in our education in that regard. So I'm a huge advocate for, you know, the more you know, the better you can function, the better choices you can make.
Yes.
So that is probably at the core of what Raina and I do.
Yeah. So I know that, I know when I was listening to when I listen to podcasts, sometimes it seems like y'all have I remember one distinctly said, well, there wasn't a whole lot going on this week, and then everything blew up like the day y'all were getting ready to record your podcast. So do you kind of have an idea in mind of what you're going to talk about, or do you just kind of take whatever the world, Lord knows they've thrown enough at us lately to keep y'all going for hours, but do you kind of have an idea of what you want to talk about? And of course, like the Supreme Court things are coming. You just don't know maybe exactly what the outcome's going to be.
And there's been a huge change in how the Supreme Court hands down its rulings as well. Used to they formally handed them down in person. Now they're just posting their damn decisions to the website. You know? And so you got to watch it all day. But as news editor, I follow multiple I have multiple feeds that deliver specific news to me, and I have specific people, news folks that I follow, and government officials, and so I'm always watching to see what's going on. Obviously, I can't be everywhere and see everything,
right?
But yeah, so I keep an eye on what's going on, and Raina does as well. And then we toss around ideas of what should we talk about, what's important, what do we feel like what's going to be the biggest bang for the buck as far as disseminating correct information.
Right.
Because there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation.
Yes. Reputable sources matter.
Yeah, exactly.
So, okay, so where can so they can find you guys? It's the 415. It's sponsored by
Desperate House Witches and The Wild Hunt.
Okay.
But does not necessarily reflect the opinions of Desperate House Witches nor The Wild Hunt.
Okay, but they can find you on any podcast catcher, I guess, and
we're on it's on a lot of different available on a lot of different platforms.
Okay, do y'all broadcast monthly or bi-weekly, or I forget?
It's the first Thursday of every month.
Okay. So,
and we may expand that at some point. I don't know.
With things the way they are, you may have to, because they'll be 6 hours long. Yeah, because I remember one of the ones I listened. The one I was thinking of is when the draft got leaked, and you're like, "Well, we didn't have a lot to talk about, but that changed this morning."
Well, and we did do. I was on Desperate House Witches the Friday before our normal broadcast, which initially was to promote Mystic South, but then because Roe was reversed on that Friday, so then we ended up doing it on Saturday, and I mean, so there's always the possibility of breaking news. We may do one.
You need that little do sound. Okay, well, thank you, Star, for telling us about that. It's a great resource. Everybody should check it out. So the 415, and you find it on any podcatcher, and Raina and Star are great to listen to. Thank you, ma'am.
You are welcome.
Hi, this is my friend Ryan.
Hi.
He is going to tell you about heathenry. Is that the correct way to say it? Okay, and then some issues that they're having with white supremacy and how they're combating that. Okay, so can you introduce yourself and tell us who you are and where you're from?
I'm Ryan Dennison. I am currently around Atlanta, Georgia, and I follow a heathen path, which is primarily following the Norse deities, and a bit of a reconstructionist in methodology, which means basically that we do a lot of research and try to do things as they did it before Christian conversion.
Okay. So I know that you use runes, because you've got your tattoos there.
Yes.
And that was now those are ancient. Those were like the elder.
Yeah. We can go back to at least the Viking age, 700s, 800s, 900s. We have the Elder of Futhark, which is a little bit older. The younger Futhark, which would be what they used during the Viking age, which isn't an ethnicity, it's what they did.
It's a class or a job.
Essentially, it's pirates.
Right.
And
that's kind of where the trouble lies with the white supremacists, right? Is they want to adopt it as a race where it was actually a job description.
Right. And man, I could go into the history of this. Actually, I've done a couple of YouTube videos on it.
We'll link those, so I'll get the link for those and put those up.
And we have had a problem since the beginning of heathenry, really in the 60s and 70s, with white supremacy and racism. And since I've been involved in it, and I probably started along my path in the 90s in college, and kind of fell into a heathen path after college, so at least since 99, 2000. But a lot of us younger generation folks have tried to form organizations to fight this within heathenry.
Okay.
And so we have like the Troth, has really kind of transformed itself over time to be very anti-racist, or fighting racism within heathenry, and fighting white supremacy. And there's been several splits because of that.
Right, and I think a lot of traditions have gone through those changes, whether it's LGBT plus issues or misogyny or racism. I think a lot of the older traditions have had to go through some painful evolution.
Yeah,
as,
definitely.
as the rest of us come up and go, that's no good. We can't do that.
We can't do that anymore.
So how is it that what can you kind of give us, I know that there's some of the runes that they particularly have adopted and they use in their symbolism, and y'all try to fight against the
right.
that.
And a lot of it is recognizing those symbols. For instance, the Othala rune, which you see here on my ring finger. A lot of that, if you see wings on the bottom of it, that was more or less a dog whistle for white supremacy. A lot of that comes from late 19th, early 20th century spirituality, especially that associated with Nazi Germany.
Okay, and they were trying to they kind of have this vision that the Vikings were, they conflated with Nordic people, and then they say, okay, they're blue-eyed and they're blonde-haired and they're this perfect race, and that's not true at all.
Right, exactly.
So they've got that part wrong.
Right, yeah. But yeah, so we form organizations. The Troth is transformed. We've got Heathens Against Hate, which is kind of partnered with the Troth. And a lot of that, what we do is trying to get information out.
Right.
Trying to get the word out, trying to get the correct, or the actual factual history to the general public or to new incoming heathens.
Okay.
Because it is something that people can get into and join an organization and not know that the organization is white supremacist.
It's problematic, yeah. Okay. So I know you were sharing with me a little example of one time when you had to deal with that. Do you feel comfortable telling me about that?
Yeah. So I have started kind of a group within heathenry too, called Heathen Men United, which is to try to fight toxic masculinity within heathenry. At Tallahassee Pagan Pride several years ago, and I can't remember what, I don't remember, it's pre-pandemic.
So before times.
I had several, I was presenting on toxic masculinity within heathenry, what it is, how we're trying to combat that, and had several bikers show up into my presentation who were probably leaning towards the white supremacist side. They had all the kind of
the paraphernalia
that would be associated with it, and they basically just tried to take over the presentation. Luckily, being a teacher, I kind of knew how to deal with that sort of thing.
Yeah, and you're a high school teacher, right? So you got a lot of dealing with attitude, juvenile attitude.
Exactly. And the key is de-escalation and being calm and just hit them with facts. Hit them with the facts.
Because what they're trying to do is rile you up.
Yes, exactly. And I had several of them kind of get up and leave and huff and puff and get up, and the 3 or 4 that stayed, finally I got them around to understanding exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And
so you made a change. You planted a seed.
Hopefully
you planted
made
a seed.
A little bit of a change.
So
that's hopefully what we try to do with these groups that we're trying to fight the racism within.
So if people are looking for you guys to get involved with like Heathens Against Hate and stuff, where can they find you?
Facebook primarily is probably where you're going to be at. A lot of the stuff is online.
Yeah.
And because current situation.
Right. And I'll include links for all that. There's Heathens Against Hate. What was the other group?
The Troth.
Okay.
Which is an international organization, and it has changed quite a bit over the years.
And then Heathen Men's United is the one you...
Yeah, Heathen Men United is one that I run. I run a page and a group on Facebook primarily.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll put all that information, and thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi, this is my friend Serendipity, and they are an excellent teacher. They are. They are. I have taken their runes class and had a great time. It was the first time the runes ever made sense to me. So luckily they're here doing some workshops, and they agreed to talk to me. All right. So how about you introduce yourself and tell us whatever you want to tell us.
Okay. Hello, hi. I am Serendipity Weird. I am a magic maker and a diviner and a general oracular kind of interesting person, or interested person.
And you're also interesting.
I am. That's what I'm told. I do a lot of stuff with some of the Norse deities. Specifically, I am friends with Loki, which does not sit well with everybody. So that's always been kind of interesting. And also, I am developing my work as a priestess of Freya. So making sure that people feel loved and seen and, you know, beautiful in whichever ways that they are. I really love encouraging people to find their own magic and to manifest that in whatever that looks like, you know, whether that's through some sort of traditional initiatory process or whether that's creating your own system all your own. And we do a lot of work with that. I co-founded a group called the Weird Sanctuary, and then a working sort of meet group that tries to bring community to a space, because as for solitaries, so that we can all be sovereign in our practice and we don't have to conform to a specific set of dogma, but we are able to gather.
Right.
And that's what I call the Weird Circle. And so we meet on Sundays, and that's really fun. I have a background in yoga, so I end up doing a lot of like meditation-y kind of things. But I'm also neurodivergent. So I go on tangents a lot, and meditation, I like to explore through the lens of different modalities, so that you're not thinking, well, I just have to sit and be silent, because especially for people with brains like mine that don't sit still very well sometimes, I like to offer different ways to be able to connect to yourself, because ultimately I think meditation is really about coming back to yourself, finding ways to get into flow, not so much that you're like clearing your mind and quieting it, but that you're finding a space to like flow within your own magic.
And I remember the other day when we were doing this, you talked about, let's try to do something besides visualize, because not everybody can visualize something, but maybe you think about the tactile, the feel of something, or the smell of something, or a sound.
Absolutely.
So, because so much meditation
historically,
is
right?
Visualization. Visualize this thing, and some people don't do well with that.
I mean, there's actually a term, aphantasia, which is a condition of the brain that you're never going to get a picture in your mind's eye. And that I've seen that be such a sticking point for people, where they're like, well, obviously I'm not a witch, I'm not a magician, whatever term you want to use for your magical practice, because I can't picture the thing in my brain. That's not the only way to do these things. So I really try to build practices and create opportunities for spiritual experiences that doesn't rely just on visualization, or gives you permission to just tell the story. Like if it's a guided meditation, just let that be a story that you're hearing. Like imagine the words. That's actually how I kind of visualize. It's not necessarily in pictures, but just in, okay, what might this be like? Like what details can I add to this picture that's being painted? You know, if I'm imagining a tree, well, what kind of tree is it? And that comes to me more in words. You know, I might be like, okay, it's really big. Oh, it's scruffy, or, you know, rough.
Or it's deciduous, or it's,
like, exactly. It's, you know, I let words form the picture, not necessarily visuals. But I also really try to emphasize getting in touch with all of your senses. Like today here at Mystic South, I'm about to offer a workshop that I call Awakening the Mysteries of the Runes, which relates to the runes in that in the meditation I offer the couple of stanzas from the Havamal, which is said to be the high words of Odin, on how Odin received the mysteries of the runes. And so it comes in from that sort of space, but really we're envisioning, picturing, imagining in some form or fashion, whether that's through what it might feel like, what it might smell like, what it might taste like, what you might hear in the space, and of course what you might see, or how you might describe what you see, of the giant world tree that we call Yggdrasil from the Norse myth side of the equation, and then what mysteries you might find there, and what you're willing to give up to learn something. What what will you sacrifice? Because Odin's mythos is all about sacrifice. Dude gave up an eye, right? For wisdom.
Yeah.
So there's definitely there's an element of, if you want to receive something, you got to be willing to give something.
Right. Reciprocity.
Reciprocity, yeah. So, and I encourage people in that sacrifice doesn't necessarily have to be giving up something that you want to keep. Like, it's not about
it's not loss.
It's not loss. It's not about moving toward like asceticism or something like that. It's about just giving up something, know, and sometimes that might be, okay, for, the next week, I'm going to go take a walk down to the corner and back because I'm going to give up a little of my time for some physical movement or something.
Right.
You're going to know what your deities are, or your guides, or your spirits, or yourself, what you feel motivated to shift in your life.
Right.
For me, every time I offer this workshop, it's a sacrifice of fear. Because even having this conversation with you right now is there's still a part of me that's terrified of sharing my personal experiences, there's so, from that rational, I spent some time as like really delving into like rational atheism. So there's still that part of me who's like, really? Like, this is what we're doing?
Yeah. The scientist in me understands that.
Yeah. So it's, so for me, it's about sacrificing some of that fear.
Cool.
And then it gets easier every
time it gets
because I've given some of it away.
That's right.
Doesn't mean it's all gone, but we're getting there.
You're building that muscle memory.
Yep.
So if people are looking for more information about you or the Weird Sanctuary, tell us where they can find you.
So weirdsanctuary.org, for we are an organization, and it's weird with a Y. Some people pronounce Y or WYRD as word. I choose weird because I'm a weirdo in general, and I love the weird. I love the things that make us different. I think our diversity is really what makes humanity interesting, If we were all little cookie cutter the same, like, that's not valuable to us for progress, for innovation, for whatever. Anyway, that's whole nother conversation. Yeah. So weirdsanctuary.org, Serendipity Weird on Twitter, which I really am never there, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok sometimes, and YouTube, hopefully more on YouTube coming over the rest of the year.
And are you going to be offering any classes coming up, do you think?
I'm really hoping to. I want to get into the mysteries of the runes again, which is my preferred way of teaching the runes, is that we have a longer form, where we meet weekly, bi-weekly, something like that for an hour or two, and it's a discussion-based teaching style.
Great class. Great class.
I just have to figure out the timing on that. Okay. I know my guides are like, hey, it's about time we do that again, right?
In fact, she just bought some runes in the middle of my class.
Yes, I just bought a new rune set, so.
And Loki is happy.
Loki is happy.
So, well, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I hope your workshops go great.
Yay!
Yay, it's my friend Stacy. My friend Stacy. We are here in the upper room. That sounds like a
we're in the flower hall.
The flower hall at Mystic South, and I have lured Stacy away from her post for a minute, and she is going to tell us several things. One of the things she's going to talk about is the wild hunt. So, okay, so tell us who you are.
Hi, my name is Stacy Pizarros.
Okay, and whatever you want us to know about yourself, including your role at the wild hunt.
Okay, well, I've been a practicing witch since my 20s. And one of the ways that I serve our pagan community is through my work at the Wild Hunt. And for the Wild Hunt, I'm the technical director, which means I do a lot of our website maintenance, but I'm also responsible for our social media presence. So that's our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram, and our subreddit.
Okay, and you have written some articles too, haven't you?
I have written a couple of articles for the Wild Hunt. The most recent one, I believe, was a 2-part series on how witches deal with hurricanes.
Okay. And I know that you guys have a podcast too, don't you? Weren't you part of a podcast where you talked about hurricane magic?
I am part of a podcast. I'm part of a podcast called Reaching for the Moon, which is put out by Everglades Moon Local Council, who's the local council that covers Florida.
Hence hurricanes.
and hurricanes. But that's part of Covenant of the Goddess, so that's part of the other community work.
Okay.
Is that's the podcast, and that's on Stitcher and Spotify and iTunes and Google Play.
Okay. All right. So tell us about what the Wild Hunt is and kind of what it fulfills for the community.
Sure. So the Wild Hunt started in 2004 as like a weekly news roundup of pagan news or news of interest to pagans, and it's grown to be so much more than that. The Wild Hunt publishes articles 7 days a week. We have our pagan community news notes roundup, which publishes every Monday, which is usually again, it's news of interest to the community. It's announcements. If there's been any crossings of the veil, we'll report on those as well. The rest of the week is taken up by news articles. So we do a lot of news articles about environmental issues. We have a UK reporter who's been writing about, for example, they're putting in some new highway by Stonehenge and how that's impacting and how it could possibly impact Stonehenge, which is of interest to pagans.
Yes, very much so.
And then on the weekends, we have perspectives. We have a round robin of different authors and opinion authors who write our opinion pieces for on the weekends, and then Sundays either an editorial or some science news.
Okay.
But everything that we do is it's news reporting through a pagan lens, and we cover a lot of stories that you might not see being carried by mainstream media because it really only interests pagans.
Right. For example, what's going on in Texas right
For
now?
example, what's going on in Texas. We actually spent 2 days worth of coverage on that Texas article. It was covered in our pagan community notes on Monday, and on Tuesday, one of our writers had actually interviewed the people who were behind the pagan market to get their input on what is going on with them, and that's not something that you're going to find on CNN or MSNBC.
So what is going on? Why don't you tell us what is happening?
So what's going on is, in a nutshell, there is a pagan group in Texas who is planning to have a pagan market sometime in October. I believe it might be part of a pagan pride event, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So a church pastor in their area got wind of this market that's going to be happening and has started a campaign against it. So that basically it's a whole Christians against the pagans kind of thing.
And it's gotten pretty ugly from what I understand.
It's gotten really ugly. There's been threats thrown around, and it's not a really good situation on either side really anymore.
And even your reporter that was working on it kind of got involved in some of the controversy, not intentionally.
Not directly, because like I said, we post our articles every day on social media, and so one of the problems with social media is that there are trolls, and we had a troll who came through and started posting some pretty violent anti-witch sentiments on our subreddit.
Right.
So, yeah.
So, but I mean, they're taking the appropriate steps, I think, to deal with that, as it's happening.
Yeah, the Texas group is taking the appropriate steps to deal with this pastor who is harassing them, and we take the steps on our end that we can control on our socials to keep those comments to a minimum and to get rid of them when they happen.
And it's this one particular church primarily, right? It's not
my
everything.
understanding is it's one particular church who has one particular burr up their ass about pagan market.
And there are other churches that have stepped up in support of the market.
There are other churches who have stepped up in support of the market. So it's not all Texans and it's not all Texas Christians. It's this one church and this one pastor.
Okay, well that's good news at least.
Yeah.
So tell us how, so I know the Wild Hunt is something y'all provide on socials for free.
Yes.
But if you would like to sponsor or get involved.
So if you like the reporting that happens in the Wild Hunt, we are 100% community supported, which means you're never going to see an ad on our site. You're never going to see a sponsored by article on our site trying to get you to buy something specific. So if you would like to do a one-time donation or to become a monthly sustainer, you can go to wildhunt.org and click on the support link, and it'll let you either do a one-time donation or become a monthly sustainer.
And all the articles are up there. They can go back and look at all the articles.
Every article is up there. The whole site's searchable. If there's a particular author that you like, that writes stories that you're interested in, or opinion pieces that you're interested in, you can see just their articles. Like if you go to the Wild Hunt and you search for my name, you can see all of my articles.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool. So yeah, the Wild Hunt's a great resource, and we appreciate you, Stacy, for talking to me. And I'm a supporter. Yay!
Yay! You know what? And so am I.
All right. Thanks, Stacy.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm not even sure how to start this whole video out. I've just got everything kind of laid up here in front of me. So what I think I will do is start with books and things. So there was the Sojourner bookshop was there. It's an independent pagan owned bookshop. Heron Michelle owns the Sojourner. It has an online presence. It is in, I believe, Greenville, North Carolina. They do have an online presence. I'll put links for everything, obviously, like all the articles and things that were referenced in the videos down below. But I'll put links for all these makers down below. The Sojourner sponsored several authors to come and sign their books, as well as selling locally, ethically resourced and made bath bombs, oils, incense, resins, candles, things like that. So they don't just order things from willy-nilly places. They are all locally sourced, locally made, and support local makers to them. So they had books there. Llewellyn, which is a large publisher of New Age books, was there, and the Sojourner was their wholesaler for the event. So I purchased this coming year's Witch's Date book. I had one that Nancy gave me this past year, and I had to get it because look at that sweet little dog. Oh me, look at that sweet little dog. So I purchased the date book. I like the date books because they have great information for each day. They have all the astrological information, astronomical information. They have days for planting and making marked, so best days. And they have little tips and tricks and tidbits throughout the different days of the year. And then they even have little recipes. So it's kind of like an almanac in that sense. They also have, you know, a month at a glance calendar section, and they have recipes. Like I said, recipes. They talk about the different moons, what the different moons mean, and then they have all the astrological information, just like you would get in an almanac as well. So these are available. They're available from Llewellyn directly. You can get them from Sojourner. You can get them in lots of different places. But yeah, so they are in the U.S. They are $13.99, and they are a great. If you like to keep a daily calendar through the year, I really suggest this. But they also have a wall calendar, which I like to have a wall calendar for my sewing room. I try to support either my friends who put out, like this past year, I bought Goth Dad's calendar, which supports the band Vision Video. The year before that, I bought the Weird Sisters calendar, which supported a podcast. But this year I bought Llewellyn's Magical Moon calendar. And this is a departure from their normal calendars because these are all paintings and artwork. And again, it's got bits and tricks, tips and tidbits and everything in it. And this is by different artists, including Abigail Larson, Laura Tempest Zakroff, and Jessica Rue. And they prepared these beautiful paintings that then became part of the calendar. So this is also available directly from Llewellyn.com. The paper is ethically sourced that these are printed on, and these are $15. And you can find Llewellyn Books on Instagram and on Twitter and on Facebook. So I will post the link to Llewellyn Books, but that is their Magical Moon calendar for this next year. Then let's see where to go. Oh, but we're still doing books. Okay. My friend Raina gave me a couple of books as gifts. What did I do with them? Oh. Raina has the Desperate House Witches podcast, and I really wanted to interview her, but time just got away from me, and I wasn't able to make that connection to be able to interview her. I was on her podcast Friday night, but she brought me a couple of books that she thought I might enjoy. The first one is Ozark Mountain Spell Book. The Ozark Mountain Spell Book is by Brandon Weston, and he also has a book out by about Ozark folk magic, and so he's focusing on my area of the country. This is also a Llewellyn publication, and this book is available from their distributors as well. Oh, take those out so I won't forget about them. Okay, so she brought me that one, and then she also brought me Horse Magic by Lauren and Dominique Leo, because she thought I would enjoy this one as well. So she brought me these two books. She was kind enough to gift those to me. Then she also made me some bells. These are what I used to call time on the podcast Friday night, because she had so many people that wanted to be interviewed by her, as we basically only were able to give each person like an elevator pitch. It was like speed dating. It was 5 minutes. Tell us what you're doing here. Tell us about your books or whatever. And then bye. So these are my timing bells. So she made these for me and put a little charm on it that said fearless. So when I'm going to cleanse these and put them in there on my altar space. And then when I ring those, it will remind me to be fearless. So, okay. Then also, Heron Michelle, who is the owner of the Sojourner bookshop, she wrote a great book called Elemental Witchcraft, a guide to living a magical life through the elements. And I was flipping through it, looking at it, and then got to talking with her and got to talking with Raina. I wasn't able to take her class because I think it conflicted with one that I was doing. But it sounded really great. And when I found out that Raina was one of the first reviewers, I was like, yep, got to get that book. Got to get that book. So the people that have reviewed it positively, Kenu, a friend of mine, has seen it, has reviewed it. Raina, Jason Mankey, Amy Blackthorne, and Evo Dominguez Jr. All are people who I respect. So sounds like a good book to me. So I'm looking forward to digging into this book. All right, then other books that I got. One is in a kit that I won't pull out just yet. But one of the themes of my life recently has been delving into ancestors. I know if you remember during the pandemic, I actually had my DNA looked at. And this ancestor theme has been a recurring theme for the last few years. And my friend Patty Wigington has written a book called Badass Ancestors. Badass Ancestors. Patty is someone I respect tremendously. She's just a gem of a human being, and I really like everything she puts out. And so she wrote this book, so I decided to pick this up, and I was able to get her to sign it for me, but I won't show you the sentiment that she wrote in there. So I was able to get this, and I'm looking forward to reading through it and incorporating it. Then I went to a talk by Dodie Graham McKay. She is a filmmaker, a documentary filmmaker, and she is also a very sincere practitioner of doing things close to the earth. And I went to her talk and was just blown away by the things that she was talking about being respectful to the earth. She lives in Winnipeg, Canada, and works very closely with many of the indigenous groups up there and many of the pagans up there to try to be restorative and respectful of the earth. She was talking about an experience where when people go up north for the first time that are not used to living there, the indigenous groups are appalled at how disrespectful they are about how they waste food and how they waste fuel. And it gives you a different perspective when you have to live that close to the earth. So she is one of 4 people. There are 4 books in this series for each of the 4 elements, and she wrote this book called Earth Magic. I went to her talk. It was amazing. I loved it. I loved what she was talking about and how she incorporates this earth magic into cooking and into food preparation, into preservation of food, into gardening, all the things that I try to do too. So I feel like this will be a great complement to what I'm already doing. Again, these books pretty much are all available from Llewellyn. So, you can go on their website and you can see, you can get them. You can also contact the authors directly. If they have a social media presence, I'll put those links down below too. So, but these books are available widely in the community. So now we'll shift gears just a bit and we'll talk about some divination tools that I got. My friend Marla had this deck and I had been coveting it. I'm not gonna lie. I had been coveting it since I saw it. It is by an artist that I really like. I have some of their Christmas ornaments. Laura Tempest Zakroff. They do a lot of work with sigils, which are protective markings or markings you can use for energetic purposes. But they did a deck called the Liminal Spirits Oracle. I have never been particularly good with oracle decks. I tend to gravitate more toward traditional tarot decks, but the Liminal Spirit Oracle Marla showed me the cards, and it was very beautiful and I was very drawn to it. So I got this in the hopes that maybe I can make a connection with it. It has 42 cards. She gives you a guidebook, and I think it will be really great because the liminal is like a boundary layer between 2 things, and a liminal space is very often referred to as the boundary layer between our world and the world of the spirits or the world of the dead or whatever you want to call it. And those liminal spaces are where wise, like shaman type people or medicine people tend to have connectivity with that, if you believe in that sort of thing, which I personally do. So I thought this would be a great deck to try to play around with. So another person's talk that I went to was at Atlanta Moonfire. I'm saying that incorrectly probably, but they work with ancestor energy. Marla said, I think you would enjoy this talk. You should go to it. And what they do is they use a modified version of a hoodoo tradition of bone throwing, which is where you take, it's not just bones, it's little items like a seashell or a puzzle piece or a message in a bottle or a paper clip or a clothespin and bones in some cases, and you use those as a divinatory tool. Now, I'm not going to open up my little beginner kit here that I got, but I went to their workshop, and what I realized is all those little bits and pieces that I've been collecting in my little jars and bowls over the years are a bone kit. And I like bones too. There's also that. But they've written a book. They've written a book on how to do bone throwing, and this is the whole course. They teach online courses through their Patreon, and this is usually a tradition that's passed down familially, so through family, but it's a dying tradition. So the way you keep a tradition alive is you broaden its reach. And so what she's done is she has written a book on how to get started with bone throwing. So for example, you can use different tools. For example, let's see, let me find one here. Well, here's a horse tooth, which I happen to have a horse tooth. Once again, symbolically, the horse represents travel, desire, powers, and freedom without restraint. Traditionally, the horse tooth also can represent intuition, and I have Patriot's teeth. He had a sore tooth. We had to pull it. I washed it, cleaned it, and saved it. So, you know, like I said, I've been collecting a lot of this stuff over time. Chicken bones are ones that you can use. You can use fossilized material. You can use, you know, you can use a doll, a piece of a doll, a message in a bottle, a marble, you know, different plant material like a buckeye, which I happen to have a buckeye that I've carried around with me for years and years and years. Moonflower seeds, which are datura, I have a bunch of those. Buttons, cameos, coins like mercury dimes, things like that. Fishing weights, you know, just all sorts of different little bits and pieces of detritus that I have collected over time and kept in jars. And I just thought it was really interesting, and I just, when you go to something and you know it's something you need to do, you get that feeling, right? And so anyway, so I bought her starter kit, which includes the book and the starter collection of things that are all ethically sourced, and I thought that would be something I would like to try. Then oh, my friends Marla and Gypsy had a tree that was hit by lightning. So when they cut it up, they brought me a piece of the lightning struck wood. So I think I'm going to try to shave a little bit of this off and put it in my bone kit, but I'm going to use this for some other things. As I was driving, I found this unicorn poppet, which I couldn't resist. I was walking out of the restroom at the Loves in Holly Springs, Missouri, and I looked over and saw this, and I went, ooh, I need you to go home with me. Then another divinatory tool was my friends Scott and Stephanie were actually there. They, oops, did I forget these books? Okay. They are Painted Cave Studio. You've heard me talk about them. They're from Arkansas. I didn't even know they were going to be there, and I'm walking through the vendor hall with my mask on, and someone grabs me and goes, Deborah! And I spin around, and it's Stephanie. She's like, we didn't recognize your face, but we saw your tattoos. So I can never rob a bank with short sleeves. But anyway, so they were there, and they have a beautiful, she makes beautiful things out of bones and antlers and bells, and she paints on them, and they work with totem. They have a book and a class called The Modern Totemist, which I've taken several times, and she knows how to make things that really appeal to me. I have several of her rattles and a couple of her knives and some other pieces in my altar room. My friend Serendipity Weird was there and taught a class on, I had taken their runes class, but then they did a rune meditation, and it really, really spoke to me. So the runes had never made sense to me until I took their class. So I was able to connect with them finally. And so I bought a new set of runes. And for some reason, coyotes have been interesting to me of late. So these are coyote bone runes. Now, I know that seems strange, but these were ethically sourced. Coyotes are hunted here. They are a nuisance animal, unfortunately, to people. I don't like that. I'm kind of a live and let live person. But they try to work with people to, at least if the animal has to give up its life, some magical goodness can come out of it. So I got those from Scott and Stephanie. And I also got, crows have been coming around me for some reason lately. So Stephanie had this rattle, which I have several of her rattles, but she had painted this beautiful crow on it, and it really stuck out to me. So I thought I needed to take that with me as well. So I have been collecting Stephanie's items for quite a while, and this was something that I felt like that I needed to have. So my magical tools find me. right? They've always put themselves in my pathway when it's time for me to find them. And so this rattle is an example of that. So I know this is maybe kind of out there for some of y'all, but I don't think it'll freak most of y'all out. Y'all know me pretty well. One of the things that happens at Mystic South is the board members hide ducks. And if you find a duck, you get to take it with you. So I was able to find this great little woodland fairy duck, and they came home with me. The last couple of things that I'll show you are artistic things that I wanted to get to support the makers, but also I think that they are part of my magical practice as well. There was a group there called Fulfill You, and they make beautiful laser cut things with wood and resin and things like this, and they make these sun catchers. And I saw this sun catcher, and I want to hang this in here in the window, so that this light will shine through it, and again put good vibes on whatever I'm working on while I'm in here. They also had some beautiful earrings, wooden earrings. They had lots of different ones, but I saw these, and what immediately impressed me about these is they are facing opposite directions, so they will look right when you wear them. That's one of my pet peeves, is when people make earrings and they both face the same way. That always bugs me because I like symmetry. So sometimes I like symmetry, sometimes not, but for my earrings I like symmetry. So they had these great pride earrings. Madeline of Silverlight Photography, she is a graphic artist and photographer. She does book covers, she does art, she's won tons of beautiful awards. I bought some stickers from her, which I'll show you in a minute, but she had this print and I walked by it all weekend and I kept going back to it. And especially now that the publication of the pictures from the James Webb have happened, it really spoke to me. So she had this beautiful print. Oh, there we go. So that's a photograph that she's photoshopped, and I just think that that is amazing. So that's Madeline Locke from Silverlight Photography. Again, I'm going to put links down for everybody. Then, yes, Marla, I have brooms. No, and I said I probably didn't need to buy any more brooms, but it turns out I did need to buy another broom. So I bought another broom. Brooms to me are protective and cleansing. I have brooms over all the doors to my house as a protective. Well, I have a hex symbol over one, a Dutch, Pennsylvania Dutch hex symbol over one, but I have brooms over the doors that I use the most frequently in my house and over some of the windows. So now I have another broom. This is a handmade broom, and this is from Blossoms and Broomsticks out of, I don't know where they're out of, but they've got I'll post their links. This is a pear wood broom, handmade. You can actually use their brooms. Their brooms are made to be used. This broom will be used not for cleaning, but for cleansing. So, yeah, so this will become my altar room broom, because I didn't have one in there yet. I had a little one on the altar, but I didn't have a big one. Okay, for those of you who haven't freaked smooth out yet and are still here, I'll show you my stickers. So I got some stickers given to me. They were giving away some stickers. Heather Green and her significant other, he has a place called the Bewitched Home, and he has an industrial laser cutter, because that's what he does for his real job. But he also makes great cutting boards and stuff like that. So this was their sticker. Sojourner gave me one of their stickers that they put on their bags, because I thought it was so beautiful. And then this is the sticker you got for free if you purchased, if you purchased Hare and Michelle's book. Boy, Willie is just not giving in, is he? Then, oh, I have some more stickers in my wallet. Shoot, gotta go get them. So Madeline makes stickers of a lot of her popular designs. So these are all Madeline's stickers. This is her Pride Witch Hat sticker. And then this is her Wheel of the Year sticker. She had prints of this, and I would have loved to have had one, but they sold out really fast. This is the one that caught my eye on Facebook when she posted it, a little cosmic witch. And then, of course, you know I love the idea of Little Red Riding Hood and the Wolf. And then this is a sticker of that print that I bought. I can't remember this person's name, but I have bought stuff from them every year because they make the great, I have a coffee mug of their fox eating pancakes. And I forgot to look to see who it was, but I'll put their link down below. I didn't buy a coffee mug this year because I don't use coffee mugs all that much, and I have a lot of them. I use them to hold pens. But they had some great stickers, so I got this very elegant looking fox lady with her pantaloons and her bag and her spell book. And then I liked this one, What the Folklore, about how, you know, the stories that we tell, not really, they get told through a patriarchal lens. And there was some really interesting workshops about that. So, and then of course the little kitty witch, which was sweet, wishing for some chicken. And then of course the trash possum king. I've got one more set of stickers. I know I didn't need any more stickers. I'll be right back. They're in my car and it's hot, so I'll just show them to you on my regular podcast. It's a foxglove and a datura plant. But anyway, I know, yes, I splurged. I'm not gonna lie, I splurged. I took my former student Tristan out to a nice lunch because, you know, he was in the Peace Corps and they got extracted from Panama during COVID, and he's now working for the EPA, but he's young and just getting started, so I wanted to treat him to lunch. So we went to the Korean barbecue restaurant and I wanted to pay. And then last night was Mark and Raina's anniversary, so every year at Mystic South we go out to eat at the tapas restaurant. Those were my two splurges for eating, because the rest of the time I took sandwich meat and cheese and snacks and stuff and ate in the hotel, because really there was no time, y'all. We were going wide open from the moment we got there until the moment I pulled out this morning at 5 o'clock in the morning to come home. It's a great conference. I hope you got a sense of what it was like from watching the videos. You know, there's a lot of misunderstanding and stereotyping when it comes to people that follow a non-traditional religious path. And, you know, whether it's Buddhism or Islam or Judaica or, you know, anything that's not mainstream religion sometimes gets misunderstood. And there's a lot of stereotypes out there that are actually wrong. So I encourage you, if this video pushed buttons or activated you in some way, examine that and try to figure out why. No one in any of these paths is trying to tell you that you're wrong. We're just trying to say this is what works for us. And it comes largely because we see this earth as our home, and we want to take care of it, and that's where a lot of this stems from. So, you know, I hope that this video will encourage you to see that these are just normal everyday people with normal everyday jobs, who look at the world through a different lens than what is mainstream. But that doesn't mean it's wrong. That doesn't mean it's bad or evil or any of that stuff. So I hope that it encourages you to investigate these paths, and maybe something resonates with you. You know, there are many paths that lead to the truth, in my opinion. So I hope that this has inspired you. And yeah, I splurged. I'm not gonna lie. I've been saving my money for a year. I've been putting back dollars and everything, and then I got a little extra money came my way the other day, and I'm like, okay. So I was very I just told myself I was gonna get what I wanted, and I did. So now back to being thrifty again. So anyway, and plus buying books to me is never a bad thing. So anyway, enough explaining. I'm not going to try to rationalize that anymore. So I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you found something inspiring in this video, and I will see y'all soon for a regular episode of the podcast.